Now the tomato season is coming to an end here. Let's have a look on how the different varieties performed. In today's video, I walk you through the varieties I grew, how much they yielded, how many fruit they produced. Like, I'll track all of those things. Yes, I do. And then also the more subjective part on which I like best from taste. I know that's always the one which gets the comments rolling and the fights going, but let's have a look at that together. I'm Steffi. I'm a home gardener here in Attleboro, Massachusetts, in Zone 6, and I love to take you along for all the details in my garden, so welcome to my channel. So let's start with the heirlooms. The first one, which was always a forever grow for me so far, was the black crim. I gotta say, last year didn't perform that well for me, and this year the tomatoes were all like just big like this, like really, really tiny compared to what I've seen in previous years. Taste was still great, but yeah, the size just didn't do it for me this year, and I think I might drop it for next year. I started to grow the Cherokee Purple, which we can talk next about, and they are very comparable in taste and in like look and feel of the tomato. Also great heirloom variety, but they just really, really consistently produce well for me, and also large tomatoes. The only downside which I see with the Cherokee Purple is that they oftentimes grow what's called cat-faced tomatoes, like when they don't pollinate 100%, and you have those like wonky large tomatoes, which should have been like two, but they grow together in like one big one and have like a weird bottom portion. That I see only with the Cherokee Purple quite often. I don't know why. All the other ones are fine, but that is just an observation. The taste is just amazing, like one of my favorite sandwich tomatoes. I wait to all winter long to taste that one. The next one is the Berkeley tie-dye, which is for me also one which is as beautiful as delicious. I just love how it looks. It's very, very well yielding one, but it's really for this beautiful striped color that I grow her, and for the taste, because it makes an amazing sandwich one. This one is always on the earlier side for me to ripen, and it comes always in a big flush, so I have that very, very early in the season, but then it needs to recover, and now I hope I get maybe a few more weathers with us here, but they are for me a very quick and done kind of tomato. And then let's talk about the two new varieties which I had. So one was the Harvest Moon, my only yellow tomato in the setup this year, and boy, so stunning. Unfortunately, it was the one with the smallest yield by far. I only got a few out of that plant, even though the plant looked healthy, happy, large. It didn't produce as much as all the other ones left and right, but the few ones it produced, they were glorious, to the point that this was one of the best tasting tomatoes which I've grown this season. This is why it will get most likely a rerun next year, because this was such an amazing flavor for a sandwich tomato. Very, very, very different from the Cherokee Purple. And almost no acidity at all, to a point that it almost tasted creamy, like with a really nice tomato flavor, but like the texture of it was so different from all the other tomatoes I grew. I really loved it. It's also more on the meaty side of things. It doesn't have so much pulp on it, which makes sandwich tomatoes sometimes a little bit of a mess. Not with that one. And it looks also stunning from the inside. It's yellow from the outside, but when you cut it open, it has like red renderings in it. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So that, even though it was just a few, will most likely get a rerun. And now let's move forward to the other side of the spectrum, the one tomato which produced by far the most so far, although I don't think that will change anywhere. There's still a few ones on, but I don't think anybody will even catch up close to this one. It's called the Mountain Magic. I had it in my heirloom setup. It is sold as an indeterminate variety, not as a cherry one, but the size, do I have one here? Oh yeah, wait. The size is an interesting one. It's bigger, obviously, than a cherry, but like smaller than like your plum and paste tomatoes. And it is so vigorous in producing. So as you may know, I track all of the harvests like in the number of fruits and the weight. So, and I averaged it out, the yields by plant, to have a good comparison, which variety produced the most. And the Mountain Magic produced, that was one plant, which I put in the ground in May, here in my Zone 6 in Attleboro. This one produced 12.5 pounds. Only that one plant. So that was really, really great in terms of yields. And just to give you an idea of who is the second best, which is a Plum Perfect, which will come to one of my paste tomatoes, this is 7.6 pounds. And all the other ones range like around like 6 to 7 pounds and a normal range. And the Harvest Moon, for example, my poor yielding one, just 2.6 pounds. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of the spectrum. The only downside of it is I just didn't like the taste so much. It was a very, very average tomato in taste. It had a little bit thicker skin, which I'm not a super large fan of, I gotta say. And for that reason, I'm not sure if I'm going to grow that one again. Let's move on to the cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes are really one of my favorite items. Sun Gold is my forever grow. It's just an amazing tomato. I love the taste. It yields wildly. The plant is typically really, really productive and healthy for me. And just to give you an idea on how well it yielded, the other two varieties I grew, this is just a red cherry tomato, the Sweet 100. And then the most recommended one on my sold shelves was the Sunrise Bumblebee, when I was asking around, what would you recommend next to Sun Gold? And the Sun Gold produced 40% more than the Super Sweet 100 and 55% more in comparison to the Sunrise Bumblebee for me, which was wild. So it had like really, really double in yields, and it's actually my third best yielding tomato in the garden. Yes, a cherry tomato next to all the paste tomatoes. So the Mountain Magic, the Plum Perfect, and the Sun Gold are my three most high yielding plants in the garden. The other one, which was new to me as well, was the Sweet 100. I really enjoyed the taste. So it's a really just normal, plain looking red cherry tomato. The only downside was that poor thing got diseased so early, and I'm traveling a lot, so I'm not here super often to really take care of good diseases early. And again, this year was simplicity, my main motto in the garden. So I didn't have a chance to control it early enough to help the disease spread. So all my tomatoes have now early blight or something, and it started with a Sweet 100, unfortunately. So yeah, that was a bummer. I should have just like cut it out, but it was still producing well on the top. The top growth was still healthy compared to the bottom. So I was like, whatever. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches in the garden, right? And then the last one was the Sunrise Bumblebee. As I mentioned, really, really beautiful. The most answered question box I've ever posted on my Instagram. People have a lot of opinions when it comes to cherry tomatoes, and this one was the winner out of that question. I really loved the look. The taste was good. Like on a scale from like 0 to 10, 10 being the best, I would say a solid 7 from a taste. But like nothing comes even close to a Sun Gold for me still. So as it had very, very poor yields and started late, I'm not sure if I will grow that one again. Whatever I grow, I like them to produce very well for me. Let's move on to the paste tomatoes. So my main purpose of growing tomatoes is truly to make tomato paste. This is, I have at the moment a week of vacation and I'm canning all the tomatoes. Those are going into salsa tomorrow. And this year I grew 3 different kinds of paste tomatoes. So the Plum Perfect is my forever grow paste tomato. A name is a game. It's just the most beautiful perfectly plum-shaped tomato. It holds also up nicely on the counter. So if you're starting to harvest them, they come also in a quite big swoop, as you know it from Determinate Varieties, but they also last on the counter for a while. So you don't need to rush with your canning equipment in to get them going. So it's truly perfect for sauces and salsas. And then my other Forever Grow, which is a Row 7 Midnight Roma, because this one is not only beautiful, but it's also delicious. And this is the only paste tomato I like to use also for other cases, like a caprese or in a salad, or when guests come over to just make some fancy looking tomato things. It's beautiful inside and out, and also tastes really, really great. So I really love that one and enjoy it. Also, not only for the paste tomato, but as like a regular tomato to eat. And then the last one, which I grew as a paste tomato, is the San Marzano. I tried that one again. Fun fact, that was one of my first tomatoes I ever tried when I started gardening, and I loved the San Marzano, but never had luck afterwards. And then I dropped it for a couple of seasons, and then I felt like in the winter, oh, let's try San Marzano again. And this one produced really, really well for me. And as you know, San Marzano is just a solid paste tomato. The only downside of this one, though, is it doesn't last long on the counter. So if you're collecting a few together to make sauce, this started to shrivel up on day 2 or 3, just sitting on a counter. Even if I picked them just a little bit earlier, not fully ripe, but just like a couple days earlier, that doesn't do so well. Like the Plum Perfect has no issue with that whatsoever. Those ones didn't like that so much. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can freeze them and then thaw them when you want to make sauce. I did that as well. That is an option there. But if you keep them on the counter, keep in mind you got to make something with them rather sooner than later. Yeah, so that was my rundown of all the tomato varieties I grew this year. And if you have any varieties which you can recommend me already, please leave a comment below, because I'm really already start to collect what I might grow next year for the few I want to drop in the spaces. So yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.